Welcome everyone to the Weekly Wrap Fully Reviewed. I'm Sean, and this week we are reviewing Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So let's get into it. Alright, so the synopsis for this movie is, when the Kingsman's headquarters is destroyed and the world is held hostage, their journey leads them to discover an allied spy organization in the U.S. These two elite organizations must join together to defeat the common enemy. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, on its poster alone, has 8 big-name actors listed. That's an incredible amount of cast for a movie. And not only did this cast have 8 incredible actors, but it had an incredible director, Matthew Vaughn. Yes, that's right, the writer and director of the first Kingsman came back for the sequel. This is Matthew Vaughn's first sequel, and while you can definitely tell it's his first sequel, I think it was an incredible way to bring us a sequel to the beloved Kingsman franchise. Now, the main Kingsman, Eggsy, is played by Taron Egerton, and in this movie he does just as a fantastic job as he did in the first. His feelings, his emotion that he brings to the table is like that of the audience. What we feel is what Eggsy feels, which is signs of an incredible actor playing an incredible part. I loved every moment with him. Also, this movie brings back Colin Firth. Now, if you've seen the first Kingsman, you obviously know Colin Firth died, got shot in the head. How did they bring him back? It was an incredible way to bring Colin Firth back. We'll talk about that later on. But he's back. And while I was glad to see him back because I loved his character in the first movie, this movie honestly took away from his character. There was so much of his character that was just healing and trying to get back in the world that it honestly fell a little short for me. We also have Julianne Moore, who played Poppy. Julianne Moore is the villain of this movie. That's no surprise. The trailer even makes it known that she's the villain. But honestly, Poppy, compared to Valentine from the first movie, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is a really bad villain. She just, I don't feel her plight. I don't understand where she's going. It doesn't seem like she's thought things through. She's honestly just a psycho villain, but not as good as Samuel L. Jackson. I wanted more from her, and I honestly think that they just missed the opportunity. Next is Merlin, played by Mark Strong. Merlin was that character that honestly just kind of had a backseat in the first movie. He helped to train Eggsy. He became this kind of mentor towards Eggsy after Harry passed. He had really good moments, and I loved him as kind of this sidekick helper to Eggsy. And in this movie, he does the same. But then towards the end, he has one of the best moments in Kingsman: The Golden Circle. It was honestly my most favorite moment. It was honestly my most favorite moment. But we'll talk about that when we get into the plot. Next up was Halle Berry. That's right, Halle Berry is in this movie. She is the Statesman's, the US version of Kingsman. She is their Merlin, and she does an incredible job. She has little screen time, but the screen time she has, again, it's like Mark Strong. Great fill. Next up, we had Channing Tatum as Tequila. He's basically the Harry of the Statesman, but he's only in the movie for about 5 minutes. Little spoiler there. Basically, he's out of commission. He's not dead, but he's just kind of not there in the movie. I thought for the way they marketed this movie, the fact that he was supposed to be a big part, or made to seem like he was a big part, took away from the fact that he honestly wasn't in the movie that much. Definitely felt a little cheated. The next character, Jeff Bridges, played Champ, or Champagne. Now, he is the Arthur of the Statesman. He is basically the head. He assigns the missions, tells people where to go, what to do. Again, felt like we should have seen a little bit more Champ. I feel like the way they kind of made his character seemed like he would have tried to be more out in the field, or would have tried to have a bigger role. But again, honestly, just a wasted character. Now, the final character I want to talk about, because he's listed on the billing of the poster, Sir Elton John. That's right, Elton John is in this movie as himself. And honestly, Elton John stole the show. He had some incredible moments where I was just like, what is happening? But I loved it. Now, he's not an incredible actor. He's not even a good actor by any means. But the moments he had, he was just the comic relief that cracked me up every single time. There's also a kind of secret casting. Not really, it's more of a musical reference. I honestly loved it, and in my opinion, it made the movie better, and that's John Denver. That's right, John Denver. The song Take Me Home, Country Road plays in this movie quite a few times, and it also plays during my favorite part with Mark Strong. And that moment, it made the movie for me. We're going to get into that here in a sec. But I have to warn you, going forward, now here's the thing, I have to warn you, going forward, we are going to be in spoiler territory. I cannot talk about Kingsman without giving away some big plot points, such as deaths, such as people coming back, how they came back. There are so many elements in this movie that if I don't talk about them, it's not a fully reviewed episode. So, if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you click away, because the movie will be ruined for you. You will not have any surprises. The excitement will not be there. So please click away if you haven't seen Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Okay, you're still here. So you've seen it. And if you haven't, then I'm sorry. Get ready. So we're going to talk a little bit about the ratings for this movie, and then in my thoughts, we're going to talk about the plot. So this movie is getting really mixed reviews by critics. It is at a solid 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. But audiences are giving it a 75, which I think the audience is more correct in this atmosphere. One review from Glenn Kenny from RogerEbert.com said, "Enough. One thinks, but enough does not exist in the philosophy of this movie." Okay, thanks, Glenn. You know, it's not supposed to be a thought-provoking movie. It's a continuation of the Kingsman story, and it really is just a continuation. But let's look at a fresh side. From Todd McCarthy of Hollywood Reporter, he said, "Considerable shrewdness is applied to the conception and execution of nearly every scene to make this odd spy stuff feel fresh," which it mostly does. And I couldn't agree more. This movie doesn't give us anything new. It's pretty much just the same thing. It's a cookie cutter cop and paste of the Kingsman, but it does do some really good things. So let's talk about that. Now, I loved this movie. It's getting a 50 by critics, and honestly, I think the critics are wrong. I think they are being way too harsh on this movie. It has the same excitement, the same feel as the first Kingsman. If you loved the first Kingsman, you are going to love this movie, hands down. But it does do some new things with its original concepts that try to make it seem fresh, that honestly, in my opinion, ruin the movie. Some of these things include robotic dogs. That's right, they have robot dogs. Poppy has robotic guard dogs. And yeah, there's a cool fight sequence towards the end with them, but they're not that terrifying. It's kind of weird, and it's obviously CGI. There's also one returning character, Charles, who has a robotic arm, and we see that right off the bat. It's not necessarily that cool. It's kind of interesting. They do some cool fight scenes with it towards the end, but that's about it. It is a cool concept, but poorly executed. But there were some really cool moments. The moment we see Harry come back, we get the explanation from the Statesman of how they have this nanotechnology that can help repair cells, and how they found Harry because they were also tracking Valentine, and they saved Harry. But it causes amnesia, and Harry doesn't know who he is. He believes that he is a butterfly expert. And then all throughout the movie, he's having hallucinations of butterflies, and he's not on his A game, and he's not giving Eggsy that mentorship that we saw in the first movie. He gives him one little speech, and it's a great little moment, but it is not as good as some of the other moments. And I think that honestly, Colin Firth's character was wasted in this movie. But Mark Strong, he's the one that shined. His and Eggsy's relationship we saw right off the bat. We saw how they are still connected, what they are doing together, and how he has kind of filled the shoes of that mentor role. By the end of the movie, Merlin takes Eggsy's place on a landmine. He doesn't want Eggsy to die, and he doesn't want to see Harry die. He thinks that they should be the ones to carry on the Kingsman, not him. So, he's outside of Poppyland. And what's he start doing? Starts singing John Denver's Take Me Home, Country Road. He earlier in the movie says that John Denver is his favorite singer. And the song plays when we first get to the Statesman. It's honestly a little bit of a foreshadowing of the song and the ending. Mark Strong sings the song, giving nods to Eggsy and Harry, an acknowledgement of his sacrifice that he is taking for the Kingsman. And it is one of the most emotional scenes in this movie, and it is honestly the best scene in this movie, hands down. My biggest complaint about this movie is that it did waste a lot of the big name actors. It wasted them. I mentioned him when I was talking about cast, and I just mentioned him in my thoughts. So many actors in this movie that were wasted that could have had potential. It was just disappointing for me. Also, the reveal that Harry was alive would have been a better surprise reveal in the actual movie than on the first poster we ever got, where we see the ice glass piece and we're like, oh, he's somehow going to make a return. And then we see him in the trailer shaving with an eye patch, and they go, Harry? It doesn't make sense why they revealed that. It ruined the big shock surprise. But overall, my thoughts are, go see this film. My score, while I do think this movie was great, I would go see it again. I'll probably buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out. It did have flaws. While the first movie I would probably give a solid 9, this movie I'm giving a solid 7. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just as good. And that's all I really have to say. There were some fantastic action points, and it leaves you in awe of its creation. So I highly recommend seeing it, especially if you loved the first Kingsman. You won't be disappointed. Well, that's all the time we have for on this week's The Weekly Wrap Fully Reviewed. I want to thank you for tuning in to our review of The Kingsman. And next week, we're going to be taking a break from the fully reviewed episodes and just have the weekly wrap. In that episode, we're going to be talking about the fall box office season. Everything that has come out from September to mid-December. That's right, all the way from Kingsman to Star Wars. And everything in between. So I hope you'll join in for that episode next week, and let us know what you think down in the comment section below. What do you want us to review next? We'd love to hear from you. I want to thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing this video. If you haven't subscribed to the Weekly Wrap, and you definitely should, you can click this circular channel icon here. And if you want to see some of our original Weekly Wrap videos from Season 1, you can check out this playlist here.